What is going on, everybody? Today I will be previewing the 2024 college football schedule for Virginia. I will go through every game on their schedule and I will predict which games on the schedule I think they will win, and I will also predict which games on the schedule I think they will lose. But as always, before we preview their schedule, let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing, and also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Last season, Virginia finished with a 3-9 record. Tony Elliott's second season was very similar to his first season at Virginia, because Virginia only won 3 games in 2022 and 2023. But Virginia was a lot more competitive last season despite only winning 3 games, because 4 of their losses came by 3 points or less, and they also only lost to Louisville by 7 points. They had some decent wins against North Carolina and Duke, and a lot of people are expecting Virginia to be one of the worst teams in the ACC next season, but I also would not be surprised if they made a bowl game, because they were very competitive last season, and they returned 76% of production from last season, which is top 5 in the country. They do lose their number 1 receiver, Malik Washington, but they bring in 3 receivers out of the transfer portal, including Chris Tyree, who was the leading receiver for Notre Dame last season. There's still a bunch of holes on this team, and the defense was very bad last season, but I think there's potential for Virginia to be better next season than they were in 2023. But anyways, let's get into predicting their schedule, and they open the season playing at home against Richmond. Richmond is an FCS school, and this should be an easy win on the schedule for Virginia. Richmond did win 9 games at the FCS level last season, but they also lost to a pretty bad Michigan State team 45-14. Virginia should be able to control this game, so I definitely have Virginia beating Richmond at home, and I have Virginia moving to 1-0 on the season. The next game for Virginia is on the road against Wake Forest. Wake Forest was pretty bad last season, and they finished near the bottom of the ACC in scoring offense and defense, and they also finished last in the ACC. Wake Forest could potentially be better next season. They returned 74% of production on defense, which is actually top 15 in the country, and the defense has some upside. But they also bring in new quarterback Hank Bashmeyer, who could potentially win the starting job at quarterback. They return a solid running back as well, and Dave Clawson has done a very good job at Wake Forest over the last 10 seasons, but last season was definitely a down season for Wake Forest, and I'm personally a bit higher on Virginia heading into next season, so I do have Virginia winning this game on the road and move it to 2-0 on the season. And the next game for Virginia is at home against Maryland. I think that this Maryland team has a bunch of questions heading into 2024. They only returned 45% of production, which is 110th in the country. They lose quarterback Talia Tungavailoa, which is a huge loss. I think that they still do have some potential at the quarterback spot though. They brought in MJ Morris, who played in some reps last season for NC State. Maryland really lost a bunch of talent and didn't do a great job at replacing that talent either, so I'm kind of thinking they will take a step down. But Maryland should still be a solid 6-8 win team despite the talent that they're losing, and they may just be as good as they were last season. They should have a solid defense again, and they showed that they are still going to be a solid team without Talia Tungavailoa when they beat Auburn by 18 points in last season's bowl game. And I do have Virginia losing this game and move it to 2-1 on the season. The next game for Virginia is on the road against Coastal Carolina. This will be a decent test on the schedule for Virginia, but I'm personally not that high in Coastal Carolina heading into next season. I know that they were pretty solid last season and they won their bowl game, but they only returned 45% of production, which is 114th in the country. And they also lose one of the best group of 5 quarterbacks, Grayson McCall. I don't think they did a great job in the transfer portal either, and I think Virginia should win this game on the road, so I have Virginia move it to 3-1 on the season. Following their game against Coastal Carolina, they will have a bye week, and then they play Boston College at home. I'm not very high on Boston College, and I actually expect them to take a step down. I know Boston College won 7 games last season, but their only big quality win was against SMU when SMU didn't even have their star quarterback Preston Stone. It was a pretty decent season for Boston College, but they have an easy schedule and now they lose a decent amount of production on defense and they lose their head coach. Boston College is usually a consistently bad team, and honestly I'm just not very high on them heading into 2024. Thomas Castellanos will be back and the offense does have upside, but the schedule for Boston College will be more difficult, and I honestly think Virginia is going to be better than Boston College. And Virginia does have this game at home coming off a bye week, so I have Virginia winning this game and move it to 4-1 on the season. And from here on out, the schedule will get much more difficult for Virginia, and their next game is at home against Louisville. Virginia only lost to Louisville by 7 points last season, so this could be a tricky game for Louisville, but I do think Louisville is the much more talented team and they have potential to have the best defense in the ACC because they returned 79% of production on defense from last season on top of bringing in huge additions in the transfer portal. I think Louisville has concerns on offense, and Tyler Shuck is a very injury-prone quarterback, so Virginia could potentially keep this game close. But regardless, I definitely have Virginia losing this game and move it to 4-2 on the season because Louisville is the far better team. The next game for Virginia is on the road against Clemson. Similar to Louisville, Clemson should be a solid team with a very good defense. I don't think Virginia quite has what it takes to compete with a team like Clemson. Clemson also has potential to grow on the offensive side if Cade Klubnik takes another step up. Clemson is one of those top teams in the ACC, so I definitely have Virginia losing this game on the road and move it to 4-3 on the season. The next game for Virginia is at home against North Carolina. Virginia actually beat North Carolina last season, and I'm not very high on North Carolina heading into next season. North Carolina loses Drake May and they are near the bottom of the country for return in production. The defense has too many concerns, but North Carolina should at least still have a solid offense with star running back Amari and Hampton returning, and the addition of Max Johnson at quarterback. But regardless, I do not expect North Carolina to be that great the next couple of years, and I think Mac Brown is actually at the end of the road. But North Carolina will have a bye week heading into this game, so I do think North Carolina will get their revenge from last season in this game, and I have Virginia losing to North Carolina at home and move it to 4-4 on the season. Following their game against North Carolina, Virginia will have a bye week, and then they will play on the road against Pitt. I could see this game going either way, but I don't think I see Virginia beating Pitt on the road. Pitt should be a bit better next season. They have a solid defense and they upgraded their offense adding Eli Holston at quarterback, and they have a new offensive coordinator who is Cade Bell from Western Carolina. I do not expect Pitt to be much better than a bowl-eligible team, but playing on the road against Pitt will not be easy for Virginia, so I have Virginia losing this game and move it to 4-5 on the season. The next game for Virginia is on the road against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a top 10 team, and they are potentially going to be a preseason top 5 team. I am pretty high on Notre Dame. New offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock has potential to make a huge impact for Notre Dame because he was the previous offensive coordinator for LSU who had Heisman quarterback Jaden Daniels. Notre Dame will likely have one of the best secondaries in the country on defense, and the offense has more potential next season with some of the new targets at receiver and also the fact that they bring in Riley Leonard from Duke. I definitely have Virginia losing this game and move it to 4-6 on the season. And the next game for Virginia is at home against SMU. SMU should be a solid team. They return 62% of production, which is not that bad, and they also return star quarterback Preston Stone. I think that SMU is a well-coached team, and they have potential in the ACC. They also did a very solid job in the transfer portal, and they have a very underrated transfer portal group. All 11 of their transfers are from Power 5 schools and bigger schools like Oregon, Michigan, Georgia, and Ohio State. SMU is definitely going to be hit or miss in the ACC. And I think they kind of are a dark horse in the ACC because they were previously in the group of 5. So it will be interesting to see how they fare against Power 4 level competition. But anyways, I do have Virginia losing this game at home and move it to 4-7 on the season. And the last game of the season for Virginia will of course be on the road against Virginia Tech. And last season, Virginia did not stand a chance in this game because they lost to Virginia Tech 55-17. And I think Virginia Tech is also going to be much better next season. Virginia Tech returns 86% of production, which is actually first in the whole country. They have a very solid team and a good defense and a good offense. They ended last season in dominant fashion, beating Tulane by 21 points in their bowl game. I personally do think Virginia Tech will be a legitimate contender for the ACC championship in 2024, and I think they're going to take a step up. So I do have Virginia losing their final game of the season on the road against Virginia Tech. So I have Virginia finishing the season with a 2-6 conference record and a 4-8 overall record. I do think Virginia has potential to make a bowl game, but they face a gauntlet of a schedule playing 2 Power 5 non-conference opponents, one of them being a very good Notre Dame team, and they also play some good ACC teams. I think they have potential to be better next season because they return a lot of talent from last season, and they could find ways to win more of the closer games. But regardless, I do have Virginia finishing the season with a 4-8 record, which would be a 1-win improvement for head coach Tony Elliott. But anyways, you guys let me know how many games you think Virginia will win in 2024 down in the comments below. But that is going to do it for today's video. Let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing and also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.